Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. Picture this. Someone is sitting at their desk or their kitchen table or maybe just staring at their phone, and they are this close to walking away from something. A job, a goal, a relationship, a version of themselves they've been trying to build. And the one thing that stops them isn't a therapy session or a long conversation. It's a few sentences on a piece of paper the size of your hand. Today, we're getting into the art and the craft of writing a letter to someone who wants to quit. Specifically, what makes that kind of message actually land? What makes it fall completely flat? And how the postcard format, that radical constraint of almost no space, might actually make you a better writer and a better friend. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what to say, what to skip, and why brevity might be the most underrated form of care. I've got someone here who has really dug into this, and I want to start with something that I think a lot of people get wrong right out of the gate. What is the actual goal of a letter like this?
So the goal is not to fix the person. That's the trap most people fall into. According to what I found from FixQuotes, encouragement works best when it does three things. It validates the person's experience, it reduces pressure, and it offers practical support. Notice that convincing them to stay isn't even on that list.
Wait, so the letter isn't really about changing their mind?
Not primarily, no. Nest Letters puts it really well. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can give someone is not advice. It's reassurance that they are not alone and that someone still believes in them. That's a fundamentally different goal than persuasion.
That reframe is actually huge. Because I think most of us, when we sit down to write something like this, we're basically writing a closing argument for why they should stay.
Exactly. And that's where it goes wrong. Template Lab describes a letter of encouragement as a sincere letter written to uplift an individual who is going through tough times. The writer documents the message as a form of declaration, reminding the person they are not alone. Declaration, not debate.
Declaration, not debate. I love that. Okay, so let's back up a little, because I think we need to be clear about what we even mean when we say someone wants to quit. Because quitting a job and quitting on yourself are very different things.
That distinction is so important, and it's one that a lot of encouragement letters completely ignore. Candor actually addresses this directly. They say there are two distinct but important elements. You need to be the kind of person who has grit, who can stick it out, but also, life is short, and your work is a major part of your life and shaping who you become.
So grit isn't always the answer.
Right. Candor goes further and says, if your work is making you a worse person, a depressed, anxious, negative person, you need to leave. So a letter that just cheerleads, don't quit, keep going, without acknowledging that reality can actually feel dismissive or even harmful.
So the letter has to hold both truths at once. Like, I see you and I also believe in you, not just one or the other.
Exactly. And that's actually what makes the postcard format so interesting as a constraint. You don't have room to write a manifesto. You have to choose. And that choosing forces honesty.
Okay, I want to come back to the postcard thing in a second, because I think that's where this gets really practical. But first, why does a written letter work at all? Like, why not just call someone?
So handwritten makes a really compelling case for this. They say a handwritten note or sympathy card with encouragement messages can be a tangible reminder that you care, something the recipient can return to whenever they feel exhausted or uncertain. A phone call disappears, a letter stays.
It's a physical object. You can hold it.
And you can reread it. Nest Letters describes motivation letters as something that becomes emotional support during stressful seasons, something someone can return to whenever they feel exhausted, discouraged, or uncertain about continuing. That's not something a text message does.
There's actually a whole genre of this now, right? The open when letters. Like open when you need motivation, open when you feel like giving up. People write these in advance for people they love.
Yeah, and Nest Letters has a whole framework for exactly that. The idea is that the letter is written before the crisis, so when the person is at their lowest, they already have something waiting for them. It's almost like emotional infrastructure.
Emotional infrastructure. That's a phrase I'm going to be thinking about for a while. Okay, so let's get into the actual craft of this. What does a letter to someone who wants to quit actually need to contain?
So FixQuotes lays out a really clean structure for encouragement messages that I think translates directly to a letter. They say, name what you see without diagnosing, validate, then offer low-friction support, and critically, remove pressure.
Remove pressure. What does that look like in a letter?
It looks like phrases that don't demand a response or a decision. FixQuotes gives examples like, no need to reply, or it's okay if you don't have words. In a letter, that might translate to something like, I'm not asking you to figure it all out right now, I'm just here.
That's so different from the kind of encouragement that's basically just pressure dressed up in nice language. Like, you've got this, now go do it.
Exactly. And fixed quotes is really explicit about what to avoid, minimizing with phrases like at least or it could be worse, silver lining too fast with things like everything happens for a reason, and going advice first before you validated. All of those feel like they're helping, but they actually shut the person down.
Okay, so validation has to come first. Always.
Always. And learnconversations.com makes this point really clearly. Knowing what to say to someone who is struggling emotionally can help them feel seen, understood, and less alone in their pain. Seen first, then supported.
Now, here's where I want to push back a little, because I think there's a version of this that gets so focused on validation that it never actually says anything. Like, at some point, you have to say something direct, right? Especially in a postcard where you have maybe 50 words.
That's a fair challenge. And I think the answer is that directness and validation aren't opposites. Nest Letters has an example letter that does both. It says, I know you're stronger than this difficult moment. I know you're capable of more than your fears are telling you. That's direct, but it comes after acknowledging that the person is tired and discouraged.
So the sequence matters as much as the content.
The sequence is everything. If you lead with, you've got this, it can feel like you're not listening. If you lead with, I see how hard this is, and then say, you've got this, it lands completely differently.
Okay, let's talk about the postcard format specifically, because I think this is where the topic gets really interesting. A postcard is what, like 100 words max? Maybe less?
Yeah, you're looking at maybe 50 to 100 words if you write small. And that constraint is brutal, but it's also clarifying. You cannot include everything. So you have to ask yourself, what is the one thing this person needs to hear right now?
And that question alone is probably more useful than any template.
Totally. Template Lab describes a letter of encouragement as something where the writer jots down the message emanating deep from their heart. That's not a template, that's a choice. And the postcard forces you to make it.
There's something almost poetic about that, like the limitation is the point.
And Hallmark actually has a really practical take on this. They say that sometimes the card itself has already said a lot, and you don't want to go on too long and risk writing the wrong thing. So brevity isn't laziness, it's a form of respect for the moment.
Brevity as respect, I like that. Okay, so what are the actual elements that should make it into those 50 words? If you had to build a postcard-sized letter from scratch, what's in it?
I'd say 3 things. 1, acknowledge the weight of what they're carrying. 2, remind them of something true about who they are. 3, offer presence, not pressure. And that's it. You don't need more than that.
Acknowledge, remind, offer presence. That's clean. And it maps onto what you were saying earlier about validation first.
Right. And Nest Letters has a line that I think is the perfect model for the remind part. It says, think about every challenge you once believed you couldn't survive. Somehow, step by step, you made it through. That same strength still exists inside you today. That's a reminder, not a pep talk.
There's a difference between a reminder and a pep talk. A pep talk is about the future. A reminder is about what's already true.
That's exactly it. And for someone who wants to quit, the future can feel completely inaccessible. But the past, what they've already survived, that's real. That's evidence.
Okay, I want to bring in the other side of this because we touched on it earlier. What about when quitting is actually the right call? Because I think a letter that ignores that possibility can feel really tone deaf.
Yeah, and Candor is really honest about this. They list out what they call good reasons to quit. Things like, your work is making you physically or mentally unhealthy, the people you respect have left and you're not inspired by anyone around you, you dread going to work, and you know you're not doing your best work. Those are real signals.
So a letter that just says push through to someone in that situation is actually doing harm.
It can be. And Candor makes a point that I think is really important for anyone writing this kind of letter. They say, when you're 80 and looking back, will you have regretted leaving this company? That's the question the person needs to sit with. Not should I stay or go in the abstract, but what will I regret?
So a really honest letter might actually give the person permission to leave, not just permission to stay.
Exactly. And that's a much harder letter to write. But it's also a much more trustworthy one, because the person reading it knows you're not just trying to keep them in place, you're actually with them in the decision.
That's the difference between a letter that's about you and a letter that's about them.
Completely. And there's actually research that supports why this kind of honest, dialogic communication matters. A 2025 study published in the Public Relations Review by researchers at DePaul University and Marquette University surveyed 700 full-time US employees and found that dialogic communication, genuine two-way, honest communication, plays a significant role in helping people feel resilient and connected, even when they're disengaged.
So it's not just about what you say, it's about whether the communication feels real.
Right. And a postcard that feels like a form letter, even a beautifully written one, won't do what a postcard that feels genuinely personal does. The research points to resilience and sense of community as the things that actually move the needle. And a personal letter can create both of those in a single reading.
There's also something in the research about letter writing as a therapeutic tool, right? Like, it's not just for the recipient.
Yeah, Springer published a piece on letter writing as a narrative therapy intervention, and it found that letter writing has been shown to be an effective intervention for individuals when navigating complex emotions like grief, guilt, or loss. So the act of writing the letter can actually help the writer process their own feelings about watching someone they care about struggle.
So it's a two-way thing. The writer gets something out of it too.
Which makes sense. When you sit down to write 50 words to someone who's at a breaking point, you have to get really clear on what you actually believe about them. That's not a passive exercise.
Okay, I want to talk about tone for a second, because there's a version of this letter that's warm and gentle, and there's a version that's direct and almost blunt. And I think the postcard format almost demands the second one.
FixQuotes actually categorizes encouragement messages by tone: warm and caring, calm and grounding, direct and practical, light and friendly, and they say to choose the voice that fits. But for someone who wants to quit today, like right now, I think direct and practical is usually what cuts through.
Because when you're in crisis mode, warmth can feel like noise.
Exactly. And WikiHow, in their piece co-authored with hypnotherapist and life coach Alexandra Janelli, includes lines like, "Even if all you did today was breathe, that's enough. And you're doing better than you think, and I can see how hard you're trying." Those are direct. They're not flowery. They're specific and grounded.
Even if all you did today was breathe, that's enough. That's a postcard right there. That's the whole thing.
It really is. And notice what it does. It removes the pressure to perform or produce. It meets the person exactly where they are. That's the postcard format working at its best.
So when you step back from everything we've covered, the structure, the tone, the format, the honesty, what does this really come down to?
It comes down to this. A letter to someone who wants to quit isn't a persuasion tool. It's a presence tool. You're not trying to change their mind. You're trying to make sure they don't feel alone in the moment they're making the decision.
And the postcard format is almost perfectly designed for that, because you can't write a persuasion essay on a postcard. You can only write something true.
And Template Lab puts it really well. The letter might seem insignificant, yet it means a lot to the affected person. That gap between how small it feels to write and how large it lands for the reader, that's the whole magic of it.
I also think there's something worth naming about what not to do, because we've been talking about what works, but the pitfalls are just as important.
For sure. FixQuotes is really clear. Avoid minimizing, avoid silver lining too fast, and avoid going advice first. And LearnConversations.com adds that silence isn't always the right answer either. So the failure mode isn't just saying the wrong thing, it's also saying nothing at all.
So the bar is, say something real, say it briefly, and say it without making it about what they should do next.
And Hallmark's framing is useful here too. They describe encouragement as helping someone through a rough day or a whole tough season of life. Not solving it, not fixing it, just helping them through it.
There's also the question of what happens after the letter. Like, the postcard is a moment, but the person still has to make a decision. Does the letter change that?
Maybe not the decision itself, but Nest Letters says something that I keep coming back to. They say that a motivation letter helps someone pause, breathe, and remember why they started in the first place. That pause is everything, because most bad decisions get made in the absence of a pause.
The letter buys them a moment, and in that moment, they might find something they couldn't find before.
And that's enough. That's actually enough. You don't need the letter to save them. You need it to give them one more breath.
Here's what this really comes down to, and I want to make sure we land this clearly for anyone who's going to sit down and actually write one of these. The postcard format isn't a limitation. It's a gift to you and to the person reading it. It forces you to find the one true thing you want to say.
And the research and the frameworks all point to the same core. Validate first, remind them of what's already true about them, and offer presence without pressure. That's the whole letter. Everything else is noise.
And if you're not sure what to write, Fixed Quotes has a rule I love. Aim for one feeling plus one reality plus one option. That's it. One feeling, one reality, one option. Fits on a postcard every time.
And don't underestimate how much it matters that you wrote it at all. Handwritten makes the point that few gestures show more empathy and support than sending encouragement to those in need. The act of writing is itself a message. It says, "You are worth my time and my words."
We started this episode with the image of someone sitting at their desk, this close to walking away. And the thing that stops them is a few sentences on a piece of paper the size of your hand. That's not a small thing, that's actually enormous.
And the beautiful irony is that the smaller the format, the bigger the impact can be. Because you had to choose, you had to mean it, and the person reading it knows that.
So here's the provocation I want to leave you with. Somewhere in your life right now, there is probably someone who is one postcard away from not quitting, and you already know what you want to say to them. The only question is whether you'll write it down. Thanks for being here on Copilot Podcasts. Go find a postcard.